Hi there, this is Lorna from Awesome Tech Training. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the process of building a simple but professional looking one-page WordPress site in less than an hour using the Astra theme and some plugins, notably Stackable blocks. What you're going to end up with is something broadly like this. So it'll have the same functionality as this, but obviously it'll be populated with your own content, so you can change all these images and the copy and so on. But what we've got at the top is a header with a logo and a menu. We've got this big hero image with a contact button, and you can see as I hover over this in the bottom left-hand corner, if I were to click on this, it would open up my email, send you an email to your company. If we scroll down, you'll see we've got a nice parallax effect on this image, and also that the menu at the top is sticky, so it stays visible as we scroll. Then we've got a what we do section. I've got 3 elements in this section, but you'll be able to have as many as you like. So I'll show you how to customize these different areas as we go. We've got a meet the team section again with some specific types of information that might be relevant here. And again, if you want more or less team members, I'll show you how to do that. Similar thing at the bottom with testimonials and with getting in touch. And then there's a tiny bit of customization in the footer here that I'll show you as we go through. If I just scroll back up to the top, you'll see here each one of these items, when we click on it, just drops us down to that area on the page. So this is simply just one page. So if you just want like a brochure site or something that you can get up very quickly in order to have something for people to look at, this is a great way of doing it. It doesn't restrict you in the future to having more pages. There's nothing to stop you having a fully fledged website and just using this as a home page. So don't worry about that. But as a starting point, this might be something that's worth looking at. For this project, we're going to assume that you already have WordPress up and installed. You've already got a domain and you've got hosting for that domain and you've got WordPress installed on the domain. So if you are starting completely from scratch, I will show you on our website here. This is awesometechtraining.com under resources, articles and videos, WordPress. We have some videos that might be relevant to you. This one in particular, how to install WordPress via your hosting company's control panel. So if you're starting from scratch and you don't know how to install WordPress, here's a video that will just walk you through that process. And that will get you up to the point where we will start from here. The next step of the process then is to install the theme and the plugins that you're going to need for this particular project. So I will show you how to do that. So when you've installed WordPress and you log in for the first time, you will see something that looks pretty similar to this. This is just a blank WordPress installation with the dummy content that WordPress gives you. If you look up here in the top left-hand corner, you'll see the name of your site. This will be whatever name you gave it when you were installing WordPress. And if you click on that, you'll see the front end of the site. So this is what a visitor would see. And as I say, this is just WordPress's dummy content. All of this we're going to change. It's just there so that you don't have something completely empty. You've got something to work with if you want to when you first log in. You can always move backwards and forwards between the front end and the back end of the site just by clicking up in the top left hand corner. So the appearance of your site is controlled by the theme, and we're going to change the theme as the first thing that we do. So we're going here to the appearance menu and we're clicking on themes, and you can see at the moment we've got this 2022 theme installed. This is just one of WordPress's default themes. There are 4 and they're all fairly basic, kind of basic themes just to get you up and running. But 99 times out of 100, you're going to want to install a theme of your own, and that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to click on Add New up at the top there, and we're going to search for the theme, and the theme we're after is called Astra, and it's this one here. So when you find the theme, click Install. We've chosen Astra because it's nice and light in terms of code, so it runs pretty quickly. It's easy to customize, as you'll see as we go along, gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of the way that the site can be configured. Once you've installed Astra, you then click Activate. And now we can see here in the themes section that we've got Astra running. And if I just go back to the front of the site here, you can see it looks different. So still not particularly exciting, but different from what we were looking at before. So the next stage of the process then is to install the plugins that we're going to need for this project. So if we move over here to the left-hand menu and click on plugins, you'll see that there are no plugins currently installed. Plugins are the way that WordPress enables you to add functionality to your website. So out of the box, it comes with fairly limited functionality, and you install plugins to enable you to do the things that you want to do. And what that means is you're not running a load of code for functionality that you don't need. So if you don't need contact forms, for example, then you don't need to install a contact form plugin. You're not running a load of code that generates forms that you aren't using. So when we go to add a plugin, we'll go to the plugin area and click Add New. And there are two plugins that we need for this project. The first one is called My Sticky Menu. So if we search for that, you will see that this one comes up. As always, when you're looking at plugins, things to think about are to make sure that any plugin that you install is compatible with your version of WordPress. So we're looking at the bottom here, where it says compatible with your version of WordPress, that it's been updated relatively recently. So you don't want to install something that hasn't been updated for 2 years. You can look at the number of reviews as well. So here we're installing something that, more than 100,000 people have installed it, and it's got 844 5-star reviews. So that suggests it's reasonably robust. If we were looking at something that hadn't been updated for a while, didn't know if it was compatible with our version of WordPress, and hardly had any installs or any reviews, then we might think twice about installing it. But we're on safe ground with this one. So with any plugin, the same process, very similar to what we just did for the theme. You find the plugin that you want and you click Install Now. And then again, exactly as with the theme, once it's installed, you click Activate. And this one jumps you into a little kind of wizard to take you through the settings. Don't do anything with that at the moment. We'll just leave that where it is for now. And you'll see it's added a little section to our menu here on the left-hand side. So as you build out your site, you'll start to find more things get added to this menu. We're just going to ignore all of this for the time being and go back to our plugins area. And here we can see that now we've got one plugin, My Sticky Menu is there. And this is where you access the settings for that. And if you ever wanted to upgrade to the paid version, you would do that here as well. But we don't need to do any of those things. So the second plugin that we're going to add, again, we're going to click Add New. And we're going to search for it. And it's called Stackable. Oops. And it's this one here, Stackable Page Builder Gutenberg Blocks. This is going to give us some of the design elements that we're going to use on our page. So again, same process. We click Install Now. And once it's installed, we click Activate. And once you've activated Stackable, you'll see it takes you to another little wizard similar to what we saw for the My Sticky Menu. You'll see here in the settings menu, you've got another option at the bottom for Stackable. You can work through this or skip it, it doesn't matter at this point. So I'm just going to ignore that and go back to the list of installed plugins. And you'll see now that we've got two plugins here on our list, the My Sticky Menu and the Stackable, and they're both running, and that's all that we'll need in the way of plugins for this particular project. So the next thing we're going to do is set up our home page and some of the formatting options that we're going to use to control how that page looks. So in the back end of your site now, you are going to first of all go to Pages. So if you click on Pages here, you will see that WordPress has put in place a sample page for you. So you could overwrite that and develop it how you want to, but for our project, we're just going to delete that and put in our own page, create a new page. Also, WordPress has given you a draft privacy policy page. This is something that you can look at yourself, decide how you want to word it, and then put it live, publish it if you want to. But for the moment, that's just a draft. It's not actually visible on the front end of your website anywhere. So I'm going to delete this sample page. If I hover over, you'll see the option bin, and I'm just going to click that, and that page is gone. So we are going to start off by making ourselves a new page. So there's a number of ways you could do this. I can click this Add New button here. Over here on the left-hand side under the Pages menu, I've got an Add New option here as well. And up here at the top in this admin bar, you've got a plus button. And if you hover over that, you'll see Page is one of the options. It's very important when you create this to make sure that you are creating a page and not, for example, a post. So the safest way of doing that is here in the Pages section, just click Add New. And we are going to call this page Home. So you literally just type Home in there, and we're not doing anything else in here for the moment. We're going to just go straight over here to the top right hand corner and click Publish. And once that's done, you can view the page. Nothing very exciting at the moment, but this is where we're going to start developing. So as I showed you before, you can always just click backwards and forwards up here in the top left hand corner to go from the front end to the back end. And we're going to make some changes to the styling of that page that would reflect, if you were building more pages, would reflect across the whole site. And to do that, we're going to go to Appearance and Customize. You can also access this on the front end of your site. If you're on the front end here, you'll see we've got this Customize option. So either one of those, just click on Customize. And what you'll see down here on the left-hand side are a set of options that will control the styling for the whole of a website. So we're just going to have a one-page website here, but as I said, if you added more pages to this, which you could, and built it out into a bigger site, anything that you do in the options here runs across the whole of the site. So it means, for example, you don't have to set the font that you use individually on every page. You can set it once here and it flows across everything. So there are a couple of things that we're going to do in here to get us closer to the look of the demo site that I showed you. The first thing we're going to do is take off the sidebar. So the sidebar is this part over here on the right hand side. And you can see here in this drop down, we've got the option sidebar. So if I click on that, you will see that it tells us that the default layout is to have a sidebar on the right hand side. And if I drop this menu down, I can change that to having a sidebar on the left hand side. And how this customize option works is it shows you what your change would look like on your live site, but doesn't actually change anything until you click Publish. So you can play around with these options, see if you like the look of something, and then only when you're happy you click Publish. So we don't want a sidebar at all here, so we're going to change the default layout to be no sidebar. So you can see how that's going to look. I can publish this. That's my final change on the sidebar. And then this little back arrow takes me back to the options here. Next thing I'm going to do is change the default width of the content. So this is in global, and it's this option here, container. And you can see here where it says layout, you've got the option content boxed, which is what we're looking at the moment. So that means the content sits in this section in the middle of the page, effectively in a box with this grey background behind it. And we are going to change that to full width stretched. So again, this doesn't look particularly lovely at the moment, but we will make it look lovelier as we go through. We're going to publish that change. You can do all these different changes and publish them in one go if you want to. You don't necessarily have to publish as you go along, as I'm doing, but I feel like it's a bit safer to publish as you go along. And then the last thing that we're going to do is back out of that to here and have a look at Header Builder. And we're going to add in our logo. So how the Header Builder works, it controls this area at the top of the page. And again, if you had a number of different pages, what's in the header would be the same on every page. And you can see the structure of the header. It's showing you down here at the bottom. You've got an above header section, which isn't being used at the moment. You've got the actual header itself, which currently has got the site title and the logo on the left-hand side, and the primary menu on the right-hand side. We will change that as we go through. And you've got another section underneath the header that isn't being used either. So we are going to add our logo in. And the way we're going to do that is click here where it says site title and logo. And then we're going to click on select logo. So that takes me through into the media library. And I've got two options here. If I already had this in the media library, this file, then I would click on media library. I'd see what I had here and I'd choose the right thing. But because we're just starting, we don't have anything in the media library. So it's going to take us to upload files, and I'm going to look for my logo and upload it. So here you just need something sitting on your desktop or in your file structure anywhere. So I'm going to use this file here, which is just sitting on my desktop, which is my dummy logo. So I highlight the file and I click open, and here it is now. It's been imported into my media library. And this is the one that I want to use. I click select. Depending on the shape of your logo, it might offer you some cropping here. I would tend to generally skip cropping. And here's our logo. You can change the logo width by playing with this slider or by just typing in the number if that's what you want to do. So let's take that down in size a little bit. And then where it says here display site title, if I just tab that off, you'll see what changes. So it's taking away where I've got one page website. So it's up to you whether you want your site title to display or not. It probably depends on what your logo is. So in this instance, let's say that Acme is the name of my company. My company name is in the logo, so I don't need to display the site title as well. So I am going to turn that off. And then I'll publish that change. So very slowly you can start to see that it's sort of taking shape. And then the other thing that we need to do in here before we go out of our customize option is tell WordPress that this page that we created called home is actually the page we want to be our home page. So it doesn't know that by magic. You have to tell it that. Of all the pages that you've got, which is the one that's your home page. And you do that down here in homepage settings. So if I click on that, you can see by default, WordPress will display your latest posts. So if you were running a blog, you might want this, that your homepage automatically is just going to be a chronological list of your latest posts. But we don't want that for our site. We want a static page, and we get to select which page it's going to be. We've only got one page at the moment, but if you had a load of different pages, you would pick the one you wanted from this list. But for us at the moment, we've just got this page home. That's what we want to be our home page. There's nothing on that page at the moment. We're going to build it up, but we're just going to let WordPress know that home page is this home, and then click publish. And then this little cross in the top left-hand corner takes us out of customize. And here we are, we can see on the front end some changes as a result of what we've just done. The next thing we're going to do is add the hero image or the header image to the top of our page. So if I just go back here and we have a quick look at the dummy site. This is what we're trying to build. So the section we're looking at now is this top section where you've got this big, what's called a hero image. Over the top of that, you've got this headline of text, and underneath that, you've got this button. And as you can see, the hero image fills the width of the page, and as I scroll, it stays static. This is called a parallax effect. So let's go to our site. There's nothing very exciting on here at the moment, but we're going to start adding some elements that sort of jazz it up quite quickly. So we're going to edit this home page that we've created. So if you're on the front end of your site on any page and you want to edit the page that you're on, you can just click Edit Page and it will drop you into the back end of the page. You can ignore this error message here. I'm just seeing that because I've been practicing on this site before, but you wouldn't be seeing that if you were doing this for the first time. So once you're into the page, actually if you're on the back end, if you were here on your dashboard and you wanted to navigate to your page to edit it, you would click on Page, All Pages. And again, here's your home page in the list. You would just click on Edit. Takes you through to the same place. And again, you won't see this error message if you're doing this for the first time. So the way that WordPress works is it gives you a whole series of blocks on your page, and in this instance we're going to add a block that has that big picture in it, and we're going to layer on top of that a couple of blocks, one for the heading and one for the button, and then you'll build your whole page with blocks underneath that. And it's quite flexible, you can move things around quite easily, and in the example we're going to use here, you can get blocks that have got quite a lot of design already built into them. So it's a quick way of getting a nice site up and running. And anywhere you see this little plus sign is somewhere that you can add a block. So you can either click here and it will just add a block to the bottom of your page. In this instance, we don't have anything on the page, so it would just add as a block at the top of the page. But if we did have a load of blocks, this button would just add another one to the bottom. This one, wherever you see this button, it will add you a block where you are. And we are going to use this block here, Design Library. When you do this, you may not see that in this list here. So this is showing the most commonly used blocks. So if you haven't done anything in your WordPress installation before, you won't see the Design Library. So to access it, you would just search for Design Library, and it would bring it up to the top of the list here, and you click, and there it is. So it drops the block into the page, and then you've got this Open Design Library button. Let's click that. And all this is a library, make sure you're on the Block Designs tab up here at the top, is a library of different pre-designed blocks that you can drop into your website for different sorts of function. So for example, if we click on blog posts, you can see different types of layout for a list of blog posts. Anything where you can see it's got premium is in the paid version of Stackable. We're using the free version for this, so we can't use any of these premium ones, but we can use anything that isn't premium. And to kick things off, we're going to add a hero image. That's what this is called. So we go down to hero here, and here are some of the options. And we are going to use this one, Elevate Hero 1. So to add that into the page, we just literally click on it, and in it goes. So the way that you can edit, if you can see as I move around, where this blue line is, you can just see it at the top here, and down the right hand side is the dimension of the overall block that houses the image. And then as I scroll, I'm just moving my mouse, you can see that you've got this heading here. The blue line around us tells us this is a heading block. And if I click into it, it's going to bring up some options for styling the heading. Same thing, if I click into this paragraph, here are some options for styling the paragraph. Same thing with the button. And if I click just back onto the background of the image, I'm looking at the settings for the whole of the background, the image. So there are some things that you can control up here in the settings that are for the block in the top left-hand corner. There are also settings over here on the right-hand side. You might be seeing Astra settings here. You might see something that looks like this. You might see Stackable settings, which is something that looks like this. What we actually want is this little settings cog. And here you can see we've got some settings that are for the whole of the page and some settings that are for the specific block that we're in. And that's what we're after at the moment. So we're in this block here and we're looking at the settings for that block. And it's the hero block. And the first thing that we're going to do is add a background to it. Here in block, we've got background turned on. And this is the image that's there at the moment. We are going to change that to a different image. So if I just click on that, same thing has happened with the logo. It's going to take me through to the media library. We don't have any of these images in the media library at the moment. So I'm going to go to upload files and I'm going to load what I happen to know are all the images that I'm going to use for this site. So I'm just going to load them now. And this one here is my header image. So if I click on that and click select, drops it in behind there. So that is the background for the whole of this block. You can see that it's got a tint over the top of it. This is a white tint. So quite often it's useful to have a tint over an image so that you can put text on it and the text is visible. But in this instance, obviously the tint is so strong that we can hardly see the picture. So I'm going to move that down to something a bit friendlier. If you ever want to see how you're doing as you're adding elements to a page, you can always click on this preview button up here in the top right hand corner. So we're going to preview in a new tab. So that's going to show us how this looks at the moment. So you can see that we're starting to change the style of it a little bit. Let's go back to where we were before. I'm actually going to turn that tint off altogether because I don't like it. So other things to do with the background, this little toggle here, fixed background, is what keeps the background static and gives it that parallax effect. So again, if I just preview that again, you can see now that the background stays still. Other things that we're going to do in here, we will edit this text. So to edit the text, I just literally clicked on it. And there are various things that I can do here. So you can see here above the block, this is a heading block. And there are some things I can do in here. I can make it bold. I can change the, whether it's italics or not, a few other things in there. One thing I am going to do here is align my text to the center. And then over here on the right hand side, there are some more options. And the one thing I'm going to do here is change the text color so that it's actually visible. And if I wanted to edit the text, I could just write over the top of it and change it to whatever I want, but I'm going to keep it as this for the time being. Underneath that, it gives us this little paragraph of text. You can edit this to be whatever you want, and the same thing, you can do some styling up here. And you can do some styling over here on the right hand side, but I'm actually going to remove this altogether. So any block that you want to delete, click into the block, and then where you've got these three little dots on the right hand side, drop that down, and you've got the option to remove the block. That's happened there. And then the other thing is to make some changes to the button here. So to change the actual button itself, make sure that you're clicking over the top of the button. And as before, if I want to, I can just write over this text. So I'm going to say contact us. And again, you've got a little bit of styling over here, but really you're going to be wanting to look over here. And the key thing is to add in a link so that something actually happens when people click the button. And either you can link through to another site, let's say, or another page if you're building a site with multiple pages. But what I'm going to do is add in a link that just opens up an email. So I'm going to type in mail to, which is what tells somebody's browser when they click on this link that it's not going through to a page, it's actually supposed to open up an email. And I'm just going to drop in the email address and click submit. So what's going to happen here is when somebody clicks on this button, it knows that it's going to fire up an email. So it will open up their email tool, whatever it is that they're using, and generate automatically a new email addressed to my Lorna@AwesomeTechTraining email address. And then the other thing I want to do in here is center the button. And to do that, we're going to click somewhere else in the button block. So not actually on the button itself, but over here on the right hand side. So you can see as I do that, over here, I'm in the button customization options. If I click here, I'm in the button group customization options. And in here, I can change the alignment to center, and that moves my button into the middle. So I'm happy with those changes. I'm going to click update and let's preview that and see how it looks. Okay, so there's one more thing that we need to do, which is get rid of this home. We don't need it to say home at the top of the page. So to do that, let's go back to the page that we were working on. And that is a setting for the page as a whole rather than for the specific block. And it's actually a setting in the theme. So again, you've got different sets of settings across the top here. Let's click on this little A and go to our Astra settings. And there are various things that we can do in here. The thing that we're interested in doing is disabling the title. So I'm going to toggle that on and click update. And then I can do the preview again, or I can just go to the tab and refresh it. And you'll see now we have something that looks a lot more like the demo that we were looking at earlier. Now we're going to add our next section, which is the what we do section. So again, let's just have a quick look at what we're building. This is the section we've just built. And then underneath that, we've got this what we do with 3 columns and a little bit of information about our 3 different services. Again, you can customize this to whatever you want, but I'm going to show you how to develop this section next. So we go back to our demo site that we're building here. So we've just added this block, the hero block, and the next thing we're going to do is add another stackable design block underneath it for what's called our features. So as I said before, you can click the little plus button either up the top here or down here and add another block and either search for the design library or just click on design library, open the design library, and we are going to look at these feature elements. And feature is just really a way of highlighting services that you offer in some kind of nice stylish way with a picture and some text. The one we're going to use is this one here, feature grid block heights feature 2. So I click on that. And here it goes. And this works pretty much exactly the same as the previous block. So what it is, if you just hover up here in the top left-hand corner, you can see it's basically a preset column, 3 columns, and within each column you've got an image, a title, some description, and a button. And then above you've got a little bit of space for a description, a heading, and a little bit more information underneath. And as before, if you click onto each one of these elements, you'll see some editing options appear just above, And then you've also got block editing options over on the right hand side here. So if you want to change your heading here, you can just type over this with whatever you want to. And then again, you can just add, well, I'm just going to leave that as it is for now, but you can just type over it. Here in either of these, this is a paragraph, the one above is a heading. You can center them if you want to. You can make them be bold. I'm just going to put that back to be aligned left. And you have some other styling options like colors and so on over here on the right hand side. So you can have a play around until you get what you want. And then underneath each one of these is going to be a picture and some information about the services that we provide. And I am going to just delete these buttons. So because this is a one-page website, there isn't really anywhere to link to. So let's do that first of all. And the way that we do that is we click over here on the right-hand side so that we're looking as before. We've got a button. Again, have a look on the right-hand side here. You've got a button when you click just on the button itself. If you click next to the button, you'll see you've got button group. And we want to remove the whole button group. So we're going to click on the right hand side so that we're in the button group. These three dots, remove button group. Same thing here, remove button group, and then once more at the end here, remove button group. Okay, so then to change this image, I'm going to click on the image, and you can see over here on the right hand side, you've got this select image option. I'll just click on that, and this is the picture that I'm going to use. And then the title I'm going to say is weightlifting, and then you could again write whatever you want as your description. Same thing here. This one is going to be running, so here's my running image, running. And then the last one is going to be the water sports option. So let's just update and have a quick preview and see what we've got now. So the only other thing, if you have a look on the live version, is you can see we've got this sort of shadow, a little bit of a curve on the corners of these blocks and a bit of a shadow behind them. And we've got a tiny bit of shadow on here, but not very much. So let's have a look at how to play with that. So that's on each one of these individual columns. So if I click somewhere here, you can see now I'm in the column rather than on the image or the heading or the paragraph. And whilst I'm clicked into the column, over here on the right hand side, I've got some styling options, including this one, container borders and shadow. And I'm just going to increase the shadow outline maybe to 5. Same on this one, drop down borders and shadow, increase it to 5. And on this last one here, whoops, borders and shadow, increase it to 5 and update. And we'll refresh this and you can see then the shadow behind the items. Next, we're going to add our Meet the Team section. So let's just have a look at what that's going to look like. Here's our practice that we're building. Underneath the What We Do section, we've got a Meet the Team section. Just 3 blocks on a light grey background and a little bit of information about each person and some links through to their social channels. So we go back to the one that we're building. The first thing I'm going to do is add some space before I put the next block in so that my blocks aren't all squished up together. The way that I'm going to do that is just by adding a spacer block. So if we click here and search for spacer, this one here is just going to add a little bit of space in. By default, it's going to add 100 pixels of space. I am going to change that to 50. You can add space above as well if you wanted. You could add some in between your hero image and your what we do block if you wanted, but for now I'm just going to stick with this here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is add in a meet the team section. Now we could use another one of these pre-designed blocks. So in Stackable designs there are meet the team blocks, but we can also build one ourselves using the features of the existing Gutenberg blocks. And we're going to do that this time around. So WordPress enables you to embed blocks within other blocks, and that's what we're going to do here. So the first thing we're going to do is add an overall container that our 3 columns are going to sit in. So if I search for block columns container, we're going to use this one here. So I'm going to click on that, and for starting things off, I just want 1 column of 100% of the width, and that's added in here. So you can see now where the blue line goes. As I hover over it, we've got a blue line above, and then above where it says 24 pixels. If I click on this plus here and add a block, it's going to add a block within my container. If I click here to add a block, it's going to add a block outside of my container. So that's important to make sure that you get your blocks in the right place. So let's just click inside the container. As with all these blocks, whenever you click in the block, you have some options here on the left-hand side and then some options here on the right-hand side. So there's a couple of things we're going to do to the container, first of all. First thing I want to do is add a background. So that's what's going to give it the grey background that you saw on the example. So again, making sure that I'm clicked inside the container. Here on the right hand side under block options, we've got container background. This is toggled off at the moment. We are going to just turn that on, and you can add your own colour. So if you know the hex code, you can just write it in here, or you can select from one of these options. So I'm just going to select a default grey. So now we've got our container. The first thing we're going to add into it is a heading. So again, making sure that I'm inside the container, I'm clicking on add block and I'm searching for heading, and we'll use the first one here. And this is just going to be meet the team. And again, I've got some styling options above and some styling options on the right here. I'm just going to use this little option here to align that to the center. The next thing then I'm going to do is add some columns underneath that, 3 columns that have our team members in. So you can hover around. Sometimes this can be a little bit fiddly. So what I'm trying to do is get it to show me an add plus button. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but there are other ways of adding a button, adding a container in. So for example, when I'm in a particular block, so here I'm in my heading block, you look at these 3 little dots here, the options. One of them is insert after. So that is just going to drop me in a block directly under the block that I'm already in. So you can see it's given me this type to choose a block or click the plus sign inside my container still. So I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to use the same block again, the columns stroke containers block. But this time I'm going to have 3 columns of a third, a third, a third. So you can start to see how this builds up now. And then each one of these is going to be a team member, and within the column we're going to have, you could do this manually by adding an image and some text and so on, but there is actually a team member block that we can add. So again, if I click add and then search for team member, there we go. Let's just use the default, and the same here, and the same here. And these work exactly the same as you are used to by now. So I'll click on the image and add in the picture of the person. And we've got some options over here on the right hand side in terms of the image width and the styling of the image and overlay and all these kinds of various different things. The image shape here, by default it's a circle. I can change it to a square if I want, or a blob, or whatever you want. So I'm going to keep it as it is, but you can play around with it obviously. And this is Jane Doe. We aren't going to put in her position, so I'm going to remove the subtitle, and then I could describe her any way I want. And then at the bottom here, for each one of these, you can add in her social details or remove the button if you're not going to use it. So if I wanted to add in her Facebook, if I wanted to add in her Facebook details, I would click on the little Facebook icon. So this takes us into the styling option specifically for the icon. And then if you move down here, you've got the option link, and you would put in the link which takes you through to her Facebook, and that would create that. And you just repeat that process for each one of these. Delete the ones that you don't need, put the links in for the ones that you do. So let's just add the other pictures in so that we can see the full effect. This is Bob Smith. He also does not have a position. And last but by no means least is Joe Bloggs. Also with no position. Now the last thing that we're going to do on the main body of the page is add in the last two sections, which are the testimonial and the contact us sections. Let's just have a look at those. So we've got this what our customers say section with some columns and some testimonials in it. And then under that, we've got a final call to action with a picture and a contact button that will trigger an email. So the way we are going to do that, we're back in our page here. So for the Meet the Team, we had this whole section with a grey background and then some blocks within it. We want to make sure that the next block we add is outside that section. So if you look at the two little pluses that I can see here, this one would give me another block inside my Meet the Team section. So I'm not going to click on that. Rather, I'm going to click on this one here, which will give me another block outside my Meet the Team section. And the first thing I'm going to do is add in some space, as we did before. So again, I'm just going to add in 50 pixels of space, just so that everything isn't quite so jammed up. And then we are going to go back to our Stackable design library, which is here. Open that up and have a look at the testimonial blocks that it has in here. So these are pre-styled testimonial options, and we're going to use this one, which is Elevate Testimonial 1. And here it is. And this, as before, just is up to you to edit. So you can click anywhere on this. Effectively, it's the same as what we built above. It's just that it's been done for us. It's a container. And within that container, you've got a heading. Again, you can click on this, and if you want it to be centered, you can have it be centered. I'm going to keep it over to the left. If you want to change the size or the nature of the heading or the text color or anything like that, you can do all of those things over here. And then if you click below or hover below, you'll see effectively what we've got here is 3 columns of 33 1/3 of the width each, and within each column this is where you would type in the testimonial, and you would just literally copy and paste it in with the person's name and their position underneath. So I'm not going to go through the rigmarole of actually adding things in there, but the principle I think you can see now makes sense. Underneath are what our customers have to say. I'm going to add in some more space. Again, let's change that to 50. And then the last of the main blocks on the page is going to be our Contact Us block. And again, I'm going to use one of these Stackable design library blocks. And we are going to use a feature block. and it's this one, Elevate Feature 1. So again, you can play around with this a little bit. Again, all of these different elements can be styled individually. I'm going to change this image. So either I can do that over here, select image, or I can just click again actually on the image. And we're going to use this picture. And then I can change this text. And this text. And then as before, the button, to change the words on the button, just click on the button and start typing. And then to add a link, while you're on the button here, over on the right hand side, you've got this link URL, as we did before. If you want it to be a link that triggers an email, preface it with mail to and colon, and then just drop in the email address that you want it to go to. And that is that. So I'm going to update all of this. And then we can preview it, but we can also view the page. And let's see what we've got now. So we're nearly done now with our small one-page site. There are a couple of finishing touches just to add, and then that's it. So let me just show you what it is that we still have to do. Here is the site that we're using as a template. So you've just got, I'm going to show you how to edit the copy that's in the footer here if you want to. And then at the top, we still need to build this menu. And as you can see, when you click on an item in the menu, it just drops you down to that position on the page. And as you can also see, the menu is sticky. So what that means is it stays at the top of the page even as we scroll. So those are the things that we're just going to do to wrap things up. So we're here on the site that we've built. And as you can see in the footer here at the bottom, we've got this powered by Astra WordPress theme copy, which you might want to change. So I'll show you how to do that first of all. We're in the front end of the site here, and we're just going to click on Customize. And then once Customize is open, we're going to the footer builder. And this works in the same way as the header builder that we looked at earlier. So in principle, you can add more things into your footer if you want to. You've got these 3 rows, and each one of these rows, wherever there's a plus, you can add something in. So you could have a little menu down here, or your social media links, or whatever it might be. But for now, we're just going to look at how to edit this copyright notice. There's a few ways that you can do that. You can hover over it and click here to edit it. You can hover over this here and click, and that would open up the same thing. And if you're in the footer builder here and you just click on copyright, it opens it up. So all we're going to do is just delete that powered by the theme author. And you can see what you now have is copyright and the year and the site title. And the way that this is set up, the year will update automatically. So you don't have to do anything. It's not static. And it's automatically dropping in the name of your site, but you can write that over with anything else you want, should you wish. So that's one thing. So the last thing that we're going to do is deal with setting up a menu at the top here and making this navigation bar sticky. Normally, when you're setting up a menu, you'd be adding pages. So when you click on a link, it takes you to a different page. But obviously, we only have one page here. And what we want is a menu that drops us down to different sections on that page. And the way we do that is by adding anchors to each of the sections and then putting those anchors into the menu at the top. So to do that, we go back to the page, click through to edit the page. Again, you probably won't see this error. You can ignore that if you do. And here I am in the back end. And what I'm going to do is for each of the main sections, so we've got the what we do section, the team section, the testimonials and the contact section, I'm going to add an anchor, and those are going to be the 4 things that go onto the menu. So if we click here on the heading what we do, and you have a look on the advanced section over here on the right hand side, at the bottom here you can see you've got another advanced section. And there's this here, HTML anchor. Now for this one, it's already put something in. So this is just a matter of how the blocks are designed. Some have this, some don't. But for this one, it's already got an anchor, which is what we do. So just make a note of that. You don't need to change anything here. If we scroll down to the next one, meet the team. So we want another anchor here. So if I just click on meet the team, again, over on the block settings, you've got advanced, and it doesn't have an anchor in here. So let's just add one in, and we'll say that it is team and update to save that change. Then we go down to what our customers have to say. So again, click into the heading, drop down advanced. This one already has one. It says what hyphen our customers have to say. No change needed there. And then down one more, and here we'll just click anywhere in this block for the options. Over here on the right hand side, click out of style and into advanced, drop down and have a look at advanced. There isn't an anchor in here, so we'll put our own in and call it contact and click update. So now we need to add each one of those elements to a menu. So over here on the appearance page, a menu rather, you've got this option menus. And there aren't any menus set up for this site yet. So it looks like there is one because you've got that link to the home page in the top right hand corner. But all that's doing is just adding in every time you add a new page, it adds a link. So it's not really a menu. It gets out of hand quite quickly. And for you, because it's just a one-page site, it's not relevant anyway. So we're going to create a menu and we will call it the primary menu. And we're going to tell WordPress where we want that menu to appear. In these menu settings, the display location is the primary menu. So that's the right location. And then click create menu. And then we are going to add in our links to the anchors on our page. And we do that by adding custom links. So if you click on custom links, and the way that you add a link to an anchor is by putting in a hashtag and then the anchor itself. So the first one is what we do, and the link it's going to go to is the anchor what we do. The link text is the wording that's going to actually appear. So you can call that what we do, or you can call it about us, or whatever you want to call it. The next one, the link, the anchor is team, and the link text is team or meet the team. The next one is the what our customers have to say, which was what hyphen our hyphen customers hyphen have to say, and then we're just going to call that testimonials. And then last but not least, we've got our contact, and we'll add that to the menu. Once you've added these in, you can change the order just by dragging and dropping these. You've got some flexibility, but I'm going to keep them as they are here and click Save Menu. So then if we go to the front end, you can see now that we've got this menu and it's working the way we want it to. It's dropping down to the different sections as it should, but it's not sticky yet. So that's the very last thing that we're going to do. You go back to your dashboard, and down here on the very bottom of your menu on the left hand side, you've got this My Sticky Menu, and one of the options there is Sticky Menu Settings. So if we click on that, this is just a little demo video, so let's close that. We don't need that. Literally all you have to do here is toggle the sticky menu on, and then scroll down and save that change. It's very important to do that part to save it, otherwise you won't see it. And then we'll go back to the front of our site up here, and then you might find that you need to refresh it in order for that last change to actually render. So I'm just refreshing that. And there we are. We've got our nice sticky menu and all the different sections on the page. And that is how straightforward it is to build a one-page website using WordPress, Astra theme and stackable blocks in less than an hour. So I very much hope that you found that useful. If you'd like any more help from us, there are various ways that we can help you if you have a look at our website. We've got a whole series of other WordPress videos, little bite-sized videos that take you through some other things that we're commonly asked about in WordPress. If you have a look at the videos and resources section of our site. We also run a series of training webinars. We have a Getting Started with WordPress webinar that we run every few months, which is free, that you're very welcome to sign up for, and other WordPress articles and advice. And we also offer one-to-one training and training in groups for your organisation, which we can deliver over Zoom. So if you need any help or advice with your own specific website, or you want to take this a little bit further, please don't hesitate to drop us a note. Have a look on our website or drop us an email, and we would really love to hear from you.